everyone, we thank you so much for joining our Turn Your Tax Refund into a Reset webinar this evening. We appreciate you spending your time with Total Alignment Charitable, and we're here to help you come up with some practical ways to use your tax refund where you can actually have protection in terms of some cash flow and have some type of stability in terms of potential emergency situations. And before we go into the presentation in depth on how you can set yourself up for success in terms of your tax refund, we want to give you a little bit of background about Total Alignment Charitable. And so first, my name is Christina Massole. I'm one of the co-executive directors with Total Alignment Charitable. I'm a certified public accountant as well as a certified financial planner. And I'm very passionate about helping people with their finances. And I'm going to turn it over to my co-executive director, Mina Black, to introduce herself as well.
Thank you, Christina. Good evening, everyone. As Christina says, I am Mina Black. I'm also a co-executive director here at Total Alignment Charitable. I've been in the industry for 20 years, actually, this year, celebrating my 20th anniversary as an advisor and as a planner. My passion is helping individuals learn how to essentially manage their money and move to the next level. So I'm excited to share a little bit about how to turn your tax refund into a reset today. Back to you, Christina.
Awesome. So hopefully you guys are excited. And so the mission of Total Alignment Charitable is to empower individuals and families through financial wellness, as well as financial literacy and coaching and workshops and other types of resources, such as our support finder, to help individuals like yourself who are participating, listening in, and or listening when it's up on our website to just say, hey, there's a place where you can come and you can work directly with a volunteer certified financial planner who will look at your unique financial picture and actually provide you with guidance and a free financial plan for your situation. You can follow us at Total Alignment Charitable. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube. So whichever buffet table you eat from in terms of your media and your social media and your content management, feel free to follow us there. So we're going to launch right in and help you actually turn your tax refund into a reset. And just quickly before we get into that, just did you know that what the average size of a tax refund is in 2025? It's projected to be that the average tax refund will be about $3,800 for the 2025 year. And for a lot of people, this tax refund in many cases is their largest amount of money that they receive in one particular at one particular time. And so we just want to highlight to everyone that everybody's path is different. We know people have different financial challenges and situations. So that will determine what your tax refund is used for. So don't compare yourself to your neighbor. Don't compare yourself to your friends. In terms of the advice that we're going to give you today, take it with and look at your personal situation. So there's no single correct way to use your refund. We will give you some ideas, right? No right or wrong answer, and we're going to offer you a couple of different possibilities that you can take. So just think about that. Your refund size may be above 3,800 or it may be below 3,800, but the average size of the refund this year is actually supposed to be that amount. Now, what does it mean for you to get a tax refund? If you are getting or receiving a tax refund from the IRS, that means that too much money was withheld from your paychecks if you are a W-2 employee. And I say that because most people who are business owners and who are paying their taxes, they're definitely not signing up to pay more than their fair share of taxes when they're paying quarterly taxes throughout the year. So during the year, we have taxes that are withheld from paychecks, right? If you're getting a W-2 employee, or even if you're contracting, you can have it set up that you have withholdings come out of your paycheck and things of that nature. And so these taxes are going to pay for like infrastructure, defense, and healthcare, all of these things at the federal level. And there's also state taxes taken out, unless you're living in one of the 9 states in the US that do not charge state tax. And so why do some people overpay their taxes during the year? Why do some people think that they're getting free money back that's coming back to them? So we're going to go over some of those points. But remember, a tax refund is when you paid more taxes during the year than what you actually needed to do. And so generally why people do this is because withholdings have not been necessarily adjusted. Essentially, through your paychecks for a certain amount to come out where you can either break even or you pay a little bit at the end of the year. Like I've seen some people owe a few $100s, and that's pretty much almost breaking even, pretty efficient in terms of you being able to use your money during the year. So if you're not getting a tax refund at the end of the year, it just means you're getting more money throughout the 12 months of the year that you could use during that year how you want to use it. And so we just want to highlight that for you guys. So why do refunds matter so much? I mean, I already highlighted that it's for some people it's the largest payment all year. For some people, I remember my family growing up, my mom used to use it as a moment of relief, and it was a chance to like catch up on some things when tax refunds came through. I had an uncle who, God rest his soul, he was also a CPA, and he did everyone in the family's taxes. And I remember everyone was like, "Oh, we're going to so and so get our taxes done," and people were excited because they were getting a refund. Now, I was a child at that time, like going with my mom and other family members to he had a home office, and people were excited about refunds. But I learned as I began studying and majoring in accounting that you don't want the refund. So we're going to help everyone to understand that this tax refund is actually an opportunity for you to use the money strategically if you are getting it, reduce stress, and just create a foundation for more breathing room for you. So what is the current state for some? This is not everyone. So remember, we highlighted that everyone's situation is unique. But many people take the standard deduction throughout the year in terms of their taxes, and they may be eligible for certain tax credits, earned income tax credit, child tax credit, and other tax credit. Some are refundable and be able to get additional monies back. And some people's reality may also be that they're not taking the standard deduction, that they're itemizing. Maybe they own a home and they're deducting some of their mortgage interest, and they have a bunch of other things that they're deducting, and it exceeds the standard deduction limit, which allows them to potentially maybe pay less taxes. And so that may help some people out with their taxes as well in terms of refunds, etc. So some people's refunds, like I said, it could be a lot higher than that 3,800, which is an average for 2025. Do not hold that number as a standard if you do not get that amount back, or if you if you get less than that or much more than that. Remember, we're talking about averages across the US. But a lot of people, their current situation is that they may be in certain situations where their rent is in arrears or they face a threat of eviction, right? So I remember when I was younger, I was a teenager, 13 or 14, and we actually had lots of threats of eviction. And then one day it actually materialized, and we were evicted from the apartment that we lived in. So no tax refund was going to help us at that point because we were so far in arrears, right? Some people, the reality is that the debt is so high and the bills have accumulated so high as well, and therefore interest has begun accruing and compounding on top of all of those balances that are owed. Maybe people have a limited amount of savings or a lack of an emergency fund. And all of these things mean that we're in survival mode, right? That person or that family is living in survival mode, and the only choice that they have is to literally make a financial decision based on what's in front of them right now. So there is no long-term planning in that situation. There isn't really an opportunity for a reset because I just need to execute what I need to do at this moment. Once again, everyone's situation is different. If you find yourself in any of these situations, listen, it's no judgment. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It doesn't mean that your situation is bleak. We're just going to give you some practical points and tips on how you can use your refund to reset this situation essentially. So, how do we actually think about the refund? So, at Total Alignment Charitable, we spend a lot of time talking about the mindset, right? And there is a mindset around refunds that people feel that this is free money that they're getting, right? It's extra money. Oh, they owe me. This is your own money. It's not a reward. It is not something that is a bonus in addition to your income. It's not something that the IRS is graciously giving you. It's not a check like people receive certain checks during COVID, right? This is not what that is. This is a refund of your money, money that you earn throughout the year, but you overpaid your taxes, meaning that too much was withheld from your paychecks during the year, and therefore the government owes you that money. So what happens in the background is that the money that's withheld from your paychecks, the government has that money. They invest that money. Sometimes they invest it in like overnight repos or they invest it into other types of investments. And what's happening there, and when I say repos, repurchase agreements is a type of investment or treasury securities or other investments. And Mina's going to cover some investments a little bit later. But the point is that they're making money on that money of yours during the year that you could be doing the same thing with, right? But you're getting it in the next tax year because technically, right? Like a lot of people are doing their taxes now, right? This February 10th today, and tax day is April 15th. And so we're in a new year. So taxes are being done for the 2025 calendar year, essentially. So imagine you all that money that you earned for that year, and now it's pushed out into the next year, and you still have to wait to get your money. But they've had that opportunity to earn interest that's compounding on top of the our earnings, etc. And you could do the same thing with your money. So we want you to reframe your mind that this is not what the refund is about. It's not free money, it's not extra money, it's not a bonus, it's not a reward. This is, think of it as a tool. If you are getting a refund, it's a tool for you to build stability. It's a tool for you to reset, right? And when you think about the definition of reset, it's an adjustment. It's to set up, right? It's to adjust. It's to fix something, right? And so that's what you want to do. You want to adjust your financial situation. You want to fix it, and then you want to just be able to rebuild. And I'll get these slides right eventually with these two screens. I'm sorry, I wasn't on the right slide, but you can see what I was actually referring to. So reframe your mind, think about what your refund is and what it is not. And so a financial reset, what does that actually mean? So I went into a bit about what the word reset means. So we want to make an adjustment. We want to have peace. And when you have peace, guess what happens? You sleep better at night. There's things you're not worrying about, right? There's fewer emergency decisions. Like if you have a cushion and if you have a base, a foundation that you can actually now a reservoir that you can pull from in case of an emergency and you're not in survival mode, right? You're going to have fewer emergency decisions. You'll have more predictability, right? Meaning that, hey, I can actually have more control over my finances because right now I'm planning. I'm planning for certain things. There's a lot of times that people have to borrow for survival. And when people are in survival mode, a lot of times they're borrowing and they can't even afford to pay that money back. So if you find yourself in that situation, maybe the refund is here not to say, okay, I'm using this money now to just spend it down and go and do everything that I wanted to do, and Mina will cover that. Yeah, you can do some of that, but then let's put some things into place where maybe, I don't want to have to keep borrowing. I don't want to have all these crises and things like that in my life. And so let me see how I can actually navigate this refund in a more positive and constructive way for my finances. So, how do we go about doing that? So, I'm going to refer to a worksheet that we prepared for you guys, and then that stuff is available for you to access. But this is just a tool that will help you to make decisions on really how to prioritize and how to allocate your refund. So, I'm going to actually share my screen with that, and we'll go back and forth to this a little bit throughout the presentation. But you want to be able to clarify your current financial priorities and focus on the areas that are the key points essentially, right? And then we'll show you how to create that action plan. So I'm going to share that now. You should be able to see it. Yes. Awesome. You guys can see it?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. So, this is a welcome sheet. Essentially, it has a background of how you should think about creating intentional decision making about the money and how to ask better questions. Instead of asking, what should I buy? Maybe you ask, what's going to reduce your financial stress? What would create stability over the next few months? What decision today could prevent a problem tomorrow? And there's no perfect answer, but you essentially want to prioritize what's the most important. And you'll have this where you can go through it in full detail. The key is that you need to be honest with yourself and where you stand. Like I said, it's not about your neighbor, your friend, your family member. It's what's best for you in your situation. So think about what matters most right now, and you're going to want to check all the things that apply, and then you're going to in the next step you're going to want to select two of these things from the top, right? What will reduce your stress the most? Maybe it's not on this list, and if it's not on this list, you feel free to add it down there. And then in step 3, you want to plan your refund, right? We we have here no judgment. However you want to plan your refund. Listen, the total amount that you put here should equal the total amount of the refund. If your refund is $5,000, you should not have on your paper, $6,000 worth of things. You want it to balance out. If your refund's $5,000, you should not have $3,000. You want to have the full amount, and you definitely want to put it into all of these buckets. And we're going to talk about what stabilizing means, what protection means, what strengthening means, what's optional enjoyment slash investment. So in that same bucket down here where it says enjoyment, it's also slash investment, like, in terms of there. So you would put the purpose, and then you would put the amount. And you want to also highlight in step 4, what's one thing this refund could help you move toward, like what's one small step forward. And in step 5, this is you can check off these boxes and say what you actually need help with. If there's anything on here that you need help with, we want you to reach out to Total Alignment Charitable because we already mentioned to you guys that we have volunteer certified financial planners who are working full time. They're working full time with clients and they want to volunteer their time to help everyday people who may not be able to afford their services because they're passionate about financial wellness and financial literacy. And so if you qualify and you meet the criteria, we want you to sign up for our program and you can go to our website and you can click on get a plan, fill out the form, voila, and you will be contacted. So like I said, we'll reference this sheet throughout. I'm going to stop sharing this now and I'm going to bring back up the presentation and I'll go through a few more slides before, and then I'll turn it over to Mina. So give me 1 second. And I believe that I am sharing.
Yep, you are.
Perfect. So the first step we want you to do when you get your refund, it's almost as if you won lotto. And if you were to win lotto and you get your refund, just think about that. You do nothing, okay? You pause. You don't immediately go out. You don't immediately transfer money. You don't immediately call your friend and say, "Hey, guess what? My money came in. I'm gonna book that vacation. I'm gonna give yourself some time." So just pause and maybe take a day, right? If you can't take a day, take a half a day and really just pause and think. Ask yourself, what's weighing on me most right now? What would make my life and my family's life easier in terms of what to do with this money, right? And this is going to help you to really just take some time and identify, okay, what do I need to do? Step two, you always want to secure the house. We talked about stability on that worksheet really quickly. We went through it relatively quickly, but you will have the recording. You will also have the worksheet. You want to always secure your house and utilities. You need a place to stay. So if you own your home, if you're renting, you need to make sure your mortgage is caught up. You need to make sure your rent is caught up. You need to make sure your utility bills are paid. We've been getting extreme cold weather on the East Coast, right? And I think people want to have heat in their homes, right? If you have storage fees, you want to keep those payments up because a lot of times people have smaller apartments and they may have a storage unit. And those things, a lot of those things are valuable that people have in storage. So you don't want to lose these things, important possessions and documents. Um, in terms of your transportation, many of you are driving. You need to keep your car up. Your car needs to be on the road to keep you to get to work, to get from point A to point B, take your kids to doctors, do all kinds of things. So you need some kind of reliable transportation. And whether it's taking mass transportation also, subways, trains, buses, all of these things are important. So you want to make sure that the home base, the foundation, utilities, and all these things, that's going to help you to make money and things like that and help you to have peace. If you don't sleep, you're not going to be able to work. So you need to, and to be able to sleep, you need a secure place to stay. So secure your house and utilities. So first step, just remember, you do nothing. You just take a pause and really think about what you want to do. Second step, secure housing and utilities, right? The third step, you want to eliminate debt that is doing you no good. So what we mean by that, this is expensive debt. So you want to prioritize paying these things down because guess what? It's costing you money. There's a cost to capital. And what I mean by that is your extended capital in the form of a credit card. So credit card companies say, okay, maybe client A, you're viable for us to lend you $10,000 or $20,000. Now, it doesn't mean you run it all the way up, etc. Because and don't pay it down. The best rule of thumb is to pay your credit card bill off at the end of the month or pay at various points of time during the month, right? Because your credit reports are checked at different points of time. But the main point here is that the high interest is what you want to literally avoid. So the average credit card rate is crazy. I mean, these things have been north of double digits for some time, but the average rate, it was in a Forbes article sometime this month actually, and it was over 25%. Over 25% for, and these are like considering hotel cards, retail cards, and certain rewards cards that were over that 25% interest rate. That's really, really high. So if you can avoid that, you want to avoid that. Payday loans, these are crazy. Get away from them. Don't, if you do not go near them because these can be 100 times more, 300 times more, over 600 times more what you originally borrowed, essentially. Now, there are caps in certain states where it can't be more than a certain amount. So the caps are much lower than that, but they're still higher than credit card interest rate. And then there's some kind of sometimes the interest rates on these rent to own kind of contracts, like it could be a rent to own house or things of that nature, where the interest rates are higher. So you want to just be mindful. So these are things to think about when you're thinking about um your refund. If you have some of these things, it's an opportunity to pay down debt in these areas, essentially. Step four. So remember, we talked about step one. I'm just going to remind you, step one, real quick, was you do nothing, you pause before spending. Step two was you securing your house and your utilities first, right? You got to have a place to stay, you got to be comfortable. Step three, you want to reduce debt. No, we're not talking about your house that you own. We're not talking necessarily about your student loans if the interest rates are relatively low, but we're talking about harmful debt or debt that's very expensive. And in step four, you're going to create a small emergency cushion. So this in that worksheet was more of the stabilizing or stability section, right? So we were talking about protect was one category that was the first couple of things that we went through. Now we're moving more into stabilizing. And so emergency funds, we rule of thumb, generally you want to have 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses covered. Hey, and you have to this you take small wins to get to that. So you can start small, right? You get your refund, maybe it's 300 to $1,000 that you're putting into savings. And it may seem small now, but listen, it'll grow and you'll keep adding, right? But essentially this will give you some level of relief and reduce stress if an emergency or something unexpected comes. Step five, you want to address any health and safety needs, right? So there may be medications that you've been skipping or just saying, okay, it's too expensive. I can't really afford to get this right now. Or it's something that I was thinking about taking care of with getting braces or getting my eyes checked or doing getting these glasses that I wanted to get. These things are important. So maybe this is the time to address these things that you have been postponing, right, in terms of your health. Could be mental health services, right? Getting in front of a therapist or some kind of counseling or support group and check out your benefits for your work to see what's covered and then what's not covered, obviously. But the point here is that, listen, if your health is not up to par, then you will not be financially stable, right? Because these things work hand in hand. And you want to address things and maintain things so that it doesn't result in a bigger issue or an emergency, which usually costs more money. And the last slide I'm going to go over before I turn it over to Mina is step six, right? This is support income stability. So what do we mean by this? So what we mean by this is leveling up. You want to maintain that income that you have, right? And in order to maintain that income that you have coming in, you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your career. You have to invest in your person. So what does that mean? Like if your job requires a certain attire, you need to update that wardrobe, whether it's clothing or uniforms. Listen, I didn't say you had to go out and buy Hermes. I didn't say you had to go out and buy Prada and Burberry. You got to maybe update your wardrobe a bit, right? And so it's all within reason. Or maybe your job requires uniforms and you need to get new ones. Listen, that's an investment into your career. Certifications or licensing, investing in new certifications. It could be an AI certification because everyone needs to know what's going on at this point with AI, right? It could be something about cybersecurity that you're interested in. Keep your cell phone up and working. I reached out to someone last week and the number was different. Now, I don't know if there was a situation that happened or I just wasn't on the list to get the updated number. And so it's possible, but you never know who's trying to reach out to you. So make sure you have reliable communication and it costs for that, right? Childcare needs. You need to have childcare in place as well so that you can also essentially plan for your income, right? Sometimes you need childcare needs so that you can go to work. Sometimes you need childcare needs so you can attend a training or whatever it may be. These are all things that support your income. So don't think of these as non-necessities or luxuries. They're more things that are investing in you so that you can actually maintain your your income or even level up or increase your income, I should say. So these are some steps you want to think about and consider more so on the stabilization and protection type of front, right? And reducing debt areas of your refund. I'm now going to turn it over into the hands of Mina.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, thank you. So I'm going to take over and share a little bit about what you can do with your tax refund, some things that you can think about as far as what you can do with your tax refund. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you are able to see it. Hopefully, it will be able to go into the presentation mode. Let me see. Make sure that it is in presentation mode. Let's go with that. Right. Can you still see?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So, a couple of things as we get through this is so Christina went over not only what a tax refund is, but also what a financial reset means. And I want to just take over and move along to what you can actually do with your refund once you have it. One of the things that most of us don't consider as part of this process when we do get our refund is potentially putting aside some of that money for the future, specifically into the stock market. Now, for many of us, one of the things that we're hesitant to do is actually invest in stocks. We tend to think that, as far as investing in stocks, it makes more sense for us to just set our money aside and not really participate in the stock market because of the potential, the possibility that we'll lose our money. But I want to make sure that you have a better understanding of what exactly it means to not only invest, but investing in a stock market. So once you've addressed the immediate needs that you need. You've built a small emergency fund, right? You're taking care of your necessities. Uh, Thinking about investing a portion of your tax refund for the long haul can really make a difference in being able to save for whatever long term goals you may have. So, one of the things that we do recommend is we talk about is how to set aside a portion of your money into what's called a balanced portfolio. Now, a portfolio is just a collection of investments that we have. So, for example, you may have a retirement portfolio, which may be just a portfolio that consists of various types of investments in your various retirement accounts, right? So, one of the things you can do is put your money in a balanced portfolio, which may consist of stocks, bonds, mutual funds. And it's all contingent or it's all dependent on whatever your risk tolerance is. And what we mean by risk tolerance is whatever your risk appetite is. So, for some of us, we may need to be a bit more conservative in the investments that we choose. So, while some people may be able to be a bit more aggressive in their investment choices, some of us, especially depending on our age, we may need to focus our attention on being a bit more conservative with the investments within our portfolio, but ideally you're able to set aside money in what's called a balanced portfolio. Imagine having a basket, and you're going grocery shopping and you have your cart and you bought all of this stuff. You wouldn't necessarily have all your stuff, meaning if you bought a lot of stuff, you wouldn't, if the cashier asked you, do you want one bag? You wouldn't say yes, put everything in that one bag, especially if you have a lot of stuff. You want to make sure you spread it out a little bit so that it's almost equally weighted in various bags. That's how what we mean by a balanced portfolio. You want to essentially spread the risk. You want to spread your investments around, right? So the next type of opportunity, the next type of investment you may want to consider is called what's called an index fund. Now, index fund is a low cost fund that essentially tracks the entire stock, the entire market, entire indices. So an example of an index fund may track all 500 companies as part of the S&P, right? So you may want to invest in, let's say, I don't want to go ahead and pick individual stocks, pick individual investments. If I don't want to do that, then I can put my money in a fund, either an index fund or another type of fund called an ETF. That way, you can remove yourself from having to think about, okay, let me go ahead and try to figure out which individual stocks I want to invest in. Instead, you can put your money in what's called an index fund, which is a fund that can essentially track the entire market, that can track entire indices. Now, the reason you may want to consider that versus individual stocks is, again, we want to spread our money a little bit. We want to diversify our portfolio. Again, portfolio being a collection of collection of investments. The other type of opportunity that you may want to consider is called a ETF, an exchange traded funds. ETFs are similar to index fund in the sense that it does allow you opportunity to spread the money, your tax refund, the portion of your tax refund that you do want to invest around a little bit, and it allows you to diversify your money a little bit. And the difference between index and ETFs is that while index fund is priced at the end of the day, once a day, an ETF trades similar to a stock. So if you know anything about how stocks trade, you can actually look at the stock market and see if you invest in a particular stock, you can see that price change throughout the day. Not the same with not so with an index fund, right? But the same with ETFs. You can actually see the ETF price change throughout the day. So you can invest in an ETF, again, spreading the risk around a little bit. And lastly, the other option, if you're choosing to invest in the stock market, is something called a mutual fund. So a mutual fund is essentially they pull the money, is professionally managed, and they pull the money from many, many investors. So imagine if I wanted to buy a particular stock and that stock is trading at $1,000 per share, but I don't have $1,000, right? I can't afford $1,000 right now. So what I'm going to do is I may put that money into a mutual fund that has that stock as one of the underlying securities, meaning that that stock is one of the investments in that mutual fund, right? And then you know what? A portion of my money is going to go toward that particular stock, but a portion is going to go to another stock, and then it'll pull your money as well. And these are all professionally managed by managers that their entire job is essentially to help manage that particular mutual fund. So you have a number of different options for investing a portion of your tax refund. Notice we said a portion. Notice we're not saying go ahead and take all your money and put it into the stock market. We know that we have bills that we have to pay. We know that some people may want to, in addition to the bills that we want to pay, we have debt that we may want to pay off, right? But we also know that some people want to set aside the money for other things. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But we do think as part of your planning for what to do with your tax refund, think about the long term, think about the long haul, and think about how you can actually invest the money for the long haul. And one way to do that is by putting a portion of that money into the stock market, right? So that being said, the next thing that we want to do is step 8. We want to go ahead. Wait, step 8. We want to go ahead and plan for what's coming. So life happens all the time. We want to go ahead we want to go ahead and think about all the things that happens. Life happens. You want to plan for what's coming. So if you're a parent and you have dependents, right? You have a parent, if you're a parent or you have dependents, think about all the things that come up throughout this school year. School fees, back to school supplies, activity costs. As a mom of two, the never-ending fees and costs associated with all these extracurricular activities. If you have children in all these sports, you know what I'm talking about, right? Insurance payments, right? Auto, health, renters, insurance premiums. they all come due throughout the year, and these are things that we can plan for and take care of throughout the year. Seasonal utility spikes. This is something that gets some of us, whether it is during the winter and our heating bill goes up, or during the summer and our air conditioning bill goes up, right? We want to make sure that we're planning accordingly because, yes, we may get that $3,800 tax refund as the average that Christina mentioned, but if we get it in April or March, that refund, and then come winter, our heating bill spikes. If we already spent all of that money, we didn't think ahead to plan ahead, then what do? We end up struggling for the rest of the year. So ideally, our goal is to go ahead and try to see if we can think about ways to essentially plan for to think outside the box and think about any particular seasonal utility spikes that may come up. Next, let's think about transportation repairs. If you have some type of vehicle, we know that life happens, whether you need an oil change, whether you need to pay for maintenance of maintenance and maintenance or registration renewals. All of these things are things that come up throughout the year that sometimes, if we don't plan properly, may come with an unexpected bill. I can't tell you the number of times that, hey, you know what? Oh, we need to go take care of this particular item that happened with the car. That is this a constant thing, especially if you're not driving, quote unquote, a brand new car, which, why would you even bother buying a brand new car? Ideally, you buy something older. But throughout the year, the number of bills, the number of maintenance things that come up when you have a car, and if you happen to live in New York, it's not just that you have the maintenance things. You also have to pay for things like storage for the car, i.e., the garage, the cost of a garage, and then heaven forbid, now you also have to pay for bonuses for the garage people. There's just all these things that come up throughout the year that you have to think about. That if you go ahead and spend all your refund the minute you get it, or you spend it within the first couple of months after you received it, then unfortunately life happens and you end up unfortunately maybe in a predicament toward the end of the year. So try to plan ahead to reduce and try to reduce any future emergencies. If you're able to set aside a little bit here and there, then it makes it a lot easier to breathe a little when these emergencies come up. So ideally, be able to set aside a little bit of money throughout the year. All right. So one of the things we want to talk about is this framework where essentially how to think about your refund. So it's helpful to consider dividing your refund into kind of four broad categories. And Christina mentioned some of these categories earlier. So stabilize. Remember the necessities, housing, bills, safety, and immediate anything that's immediate pressing needs. Anything that if you have some type of debt that you have to take care of, because if you don't, then it's going to either impact your credit score, it's going to impact your living situation. You want to go ahead and take care of that as soon as possible. You want to go ahead and protect what you have and protect your future essentially. You want to think about setting aside a small emergency savings cushion for unexpected expenses. Some of the expenses that we just talked about, whether it's utility spikes, whether it is school fees, tuition, things that may come up throughout the year that may be unexpected, card maintenance issues and challenges, right? You want to go ahead and set aside a small cushion that you may be able to tap into throughout the year. You want to go ahead and think about investing. We just talked about the various types of investments that are available to you, especially if you don't want to really get bogged down with actually picking individual stocks. We don't want to do that. We want to go ahead and think about long-term wealth building. And one of the ways to do that is through the diversified portfolios and building diversified portfolios and looking at some of these other opportunities when it comes to some of these investment options when it comes to investing. Next up is strengthening. Now, we want to make sure that we take care of things like debt, reduce our debt, and income supporting tools or credentials. One of the biggest things when we talk about investing, when we talk about what we can do with our refund, is don't just focus on, okay, I need to just go ahead and spend it and blow the money, right? Don't, hopefully you're not, hopefully you don't do that. We talk about investing. One of the things that we say when we talk about investing is it's not just about investing in like the stock market investing, but as Christina mentioned, it's investing in yourself. What credentials, what skills can you get that will help you level up, that'll help you get to the next level, that'll help you either in your career, right, in your business? What skills can you can you actually take on? And now, that being said, there's so many places here you can actually get free or reduce pricing for certain skills that you may be trying to obtain. So just think about how to essentially strengthen not only yourself, but strengthen your skills so that you can actually move on to the next level. Now we want to give you kind of an example of how to think about. So Christina mentioned the average refund amount. We're going to use a lower amount for our example here. We're going to use $2,500 as our example here. So imagine if you receive $2,500 and we think, yay, that intoxication really kicks in where we're very very excited until we realize it was our money to begin with, right? So here's one possible way for us to allocate this $2,500 refund. So we're going to put $1,000 toward rent or utilities. Okay, these are the necessities, right? We're going to take $625 to emergency savings. Ideally, we put it into a high yield savings account, a money market, some type of money market account. We're going to take $500 and set it aside for transportation or medical needs. And this one you can put it into, again, you can set it aside into a savings account. That way, it's money that you don't touch, and you can actually set aside for a longer haul. And then we're going to take about $125 and invest. And you may say to yourself, is $125 enough for me to do anything as far as investing? And the answer is yes. You can take that $125 and put it into one of the various types of funds that are out there, whether it is an index fund or an ETF. And just whenever you get a little bit of money, just add to it. And over time, you'll be amazed at how much you're able to set aside and how much it grows without you having to constantly think about, okay, what did I put my money in? Do I need to worry about picking individual stocks? So you can take $125 and put it into some type of investment account. And then notice we have here $250 blow it money, i.e., fund money. Look, we're a nonprofit. We're a financial services nonprofit, but we're not oblivious to the fact that, you know what, we want to live a little bit. We want to make sure that we're not just all corporate. We're not just all it's all about work. We want to play. We want to have fun, and that's what this $250 is: money that you can go spend, whether you want to eat out, whether you want to go ahead and go out with your friends, it's money that you want to go ahead and spend some time with. It is okay for you to enjoy some of it. Absolutely. It's absolutely okay for you to set aside. Maybe you want to take the family out to dinner one day, right? Spend some quality time with your family, right? Take the family. You want to take a little bit of that money and maybe you want to plan a really nice vacation, like local vacation somewhere in your town, right? You want to do something that brings joy or relief to you and your family, right? You want rest and recovery from months of stress. And part of that is being able to spend that money because it is your earned money, right? It is your earned money. Spend some of that money and spend it in a way that will bring you just, even if it's just a little bit of joy, that it brings you a little bit of joy. The key here is to be as intentional as possible. You want to allocate a specific amount because here's the thing that sometimes will get us in trouble. We may say, okay, we may say to ourselves, I'm going to do this framework. I'm going to go ahead and set aside 250 for the blow it money, rent, emergency savings. But month two, month three, what ends up happening sometimes a little bit, $25 from the emergency savings makes its way to that blow it money. And then the next month, another $25. And then another $25. And all of a sudden, uh-oh, our emergency savings is down to like $5 and our blow it money went from $250 to, oh my goodness, now we've spent almost $1,000 and that's it. All the money's gone, right? So just be mindful and be very, very intentional about how much you allocate to this category because this category, believe it or not, is the category that gets us in trouble. It can really makes us, it can make it can make us forget our long-term goals because sometimes it's just so much fun to go ahead and go eat out and go on vacation and do whatever we want, do whatever we feel inclined to do. So just keep that in mind. But all that being said, it is absolutely okay for you to enjoy some of it, just not all of it, and be intentional about it. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about like the common myths that have come up right now, which is when it comes to personal finance, is oftentimes that sometimes we try to compare ourselves to other people, and we want to make sure that if that's where you are right now, we want to challenge some of those common myths that come up. So, for example, I should have more saved by now. And my response to that is always, says who? Your financial situation is shaped by your circumstances. No one has walked in your shoes. So nobody has lived your life. Nobody has your lived experiences. So if you're saying to yourself, I should have saved more by now, right? You're doing the best you can. You're doing the best with what you have, right? And there is more to come, meaning that you have more than enough time to save as much as you want and save as much as you need, right? It's just a matter of figuring out what exactly is your individual priority. But our goal here is to help you understand that whatever wherever you are is where you are. There's absolutely no need for us to compare ourselves to other people because where they are is where they are, right? Nobody has your lived experiences, so they you don't know what they've gone through, right? Other and you may even say to yourself, others are doing better than me. You really see the full picture. It is literally when it comes to personal finances, and it is similar to if you remember the old when Instagram first came out, and I guess it's still probably still a thing on Instagram. I remember reading articles like a few years after Instagram came out. People, what you see in Instagram is not really the real experience, their real life, and it's the same thing here, right? Comparing ourselves to other people and saying, "Oh, they're doing better than me." You don't know their full story, right? You may see quote unquote an overnight success or something that happened to them overnight, but you may not see the hours and hours, the days, the years that they spent getting to that point, right? And you may not be privy to the fact that they may be doing better than you, but doing better than you may be that they may have just inherited $100,000 or $200,000, and you just weren't even privy to that because they did not share that piece of information for you. I can't tell you the number of times that I've encountered people that on the surface they're like, "Wow, you're doing really good," and they are doing well, but they also had a bit of a head start, and the full story once you dig deep is a little bit it's 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 while impressive for them, it's not necessarily something that we need to judge ourselves against because you may say they're doing better than you, but there's a whole story that you may not be privy to, right? And this is a common one that we do hear often, which is I'll never get ahead, right? Small steps forward create momentum. Just keep that in mind, right? Yes, it may be challenging, and obviously with the way things are right now, the economy may be something that just unfortunately is a bit challenging to do and to do a lot, right? But every little bit, even 1% per day, is enough and is incremental enough that by the end of the year, 365 days later, you have essentially changed your life, right? So just think about it that way, right? Not don't think about, oh my goodness, I'll never get ahead. Don't think about, okay, 5 years, 10 years. Think about just tomorrow. Okay, what do I need to get done today so that tomorrow will be a better day than tomorrow will be a better day than today. Just think of it that way so that you can essentially reframe how you think about this. And as Christina mentioned, we do talk a lot about mindset here. And part of that is making sure that we're not comparing ourselves to our neighbors, to our friends, to whoever, right? One of my favorite sayings is, what is you against you, is you against you. And that's all that matters is you against you. You are in the race by yourself, for yourself. And just keep that in mind and don't, please try not to compare yourself to other people, right? One moment can change momentum, which I love. What your tax refund can do, it can help you break a cycle. It can reduce the pressure. It can reduce stress. We all know um, one of the things I think we don't think about is the amount of the amount of stress caused in your body by financial stress. There's a saying, the body keeps score, and that is absolutely true as well when it comes to personal finances. The stress that we are under when it comes to our personal finances can show up in lots of different ways, especially within your body. And if you're able to plan ahead a little bit, you're able to essentially help reduce some of that stress, right? And then what we really want to talk about is, okay, how do we create the next step, right? How do we build the foundations so that for the next positive financial decision? And how do we make sure that within the next thing that we do, uh, by next year, we set ourselves up for a good outcome? So one of the things is the tax refund is one moment, but we can build stability throughout the year. And one way to do that is by adjusting our tax withholding, right? So if possible, pull out your adjust your your W-4 when you get to work. Adjust your W-4 form so that you receive more in each paycheck. I know we all get excited. You have that euphoria when we do our taxes, and oh yay, I get that tax refund. But as Christina mentioned, on that really what that really is just an interest-free loan to the IRS. And they say thank you. Uncle Sam says thank you for that interest-free loan. But you want to go ahead and adjust your W-4 and you adjust your withholding so that you receive more in your paycheck. Because imagine receiving more and you being able to do more with that money, meaning that you're able to save more with that money, save more. You'll be able to invest some of that money, right? And now you're no longer giving out interest-free loans to Uncle Sam. You are essentially building your wealth your way, and you're essentially growing your money your way, right? Another thing you could do throughout the year is you can use the free financial counseling. So, our many nonprofits, including ours, and community organizations offer free financial counseling and coaching. So, as Christina mentioned, one of the things that we do here is if you're somebody who meets some of the requirements that we have, meets our requirements, and the requirements that we have to get a free financial plan aren't onerous, right? What we do is we connect you to a certified financial planner, and they work with you one on one to help you understand your finances and help you think through how to put the pieces together and how to put your financial pieces together, right? And ideally, you're able to work with the planner or the counselor to create a simple monthly plan, even a basic plan, knowing what bills are due. That can save you a lot of stress and a lot of headache over time, right? So throughout the year, if you can adjust your tax withholding, you can that you can work on tomorrow, right? Connect with financial planners and financial counselors to work one on one with your on your finances and to create a simple monthly plan. Hopefully, you don't feel like you're in this by yourself, and you don't feel like you have to do this by yourself. Support exists in many different places, including within our own firm. You don't have to do this alone, right? Between the credit counselors that can help you, they're nonprofits, one of our partners. They help individuals reduce their debt, right? Between a lot of nonprofits that will help you manage your credit, manage your debts so that you can actually get yourself out of debt. Financial planners, that nonprofit financial planners, coaches who provide free budgeting and planning assistance, housing counselors, HUD approved counselors who help with rent eviction prevention and housing stability, right? So if you're currently under stress because of any of these situations, the HUD approved counselors can actually work with you to help essentially hopefully get you on sound footing, right? Legal aid, right? Free legal aid, free legal services for low income individuals facing debt collection or housing issues. That one, there's so many legal aid organizations, legal aid services that you can actually find. You can, if you're looking for it, you can literally just put your city name and put legal aid and pull up your local legal aid office, right? And then benefit navigators, specialists who help you identify and access government benefits and assistance programs. One of the things that we do have here at Total Alignment Charitable, we have something called a support finder, and you can enter your information within our support finder, and you enter essentially what's happening, what's going on with you, and then you can pull up resources that you can contact some of these organizations and figure out what resources are available to you. Some of it is benefits that may be of use to you, right? Asking for right? Asking for help is strength. Remember, like it's not weakness to ask for help. So just keep that in mind over time, right? So if your future self could thank you for one decision today, what would it be? Think about this question. If your future self could thank you for one decision that you made today, what would it be? Hopefully, your future self will say, hey, you know what? Thank you for taking the time to attend the Total Alignment Charitable webinar. But hopefully, your future self will be able to thank you for not only thinking ahead, but also planning and really thinking strategically about what to do with the money that you get. So some key takeaways that we want to make sure you have here is stability comes first, right? Small steps matter. Planning is care, and you deserve support, and we are here to help you get from point A to point B. Whatever happens, you want to make sure that whatever happens, that you are making sure that you're on stable ground and that you're taking care of yourself and your family. So one of the things that we want to make sure that you do have access to when it comes is we want to make sure that you take action today. So if you can, go ahead and complete the planning worksheet that accompanies this webinar. You can download it on our website as you can go ahead and ask questions if anything's unclear, and ask now or reach out for support. We're here to support you. And you can request follow up support, connect with counselors, coaches, or resources that can help you implement your plan. So, your refund is a moment, your reset is a process. You're not behind, you're well ahead of the curve, especially if you're here with us today. So, I wanted to briefly just help you understand what a financial plan can do for you. If you've ever said made these statements to yourself, my money's gone before the month is over. I'm always behind on at least one bill. I want to start or grow a business, but my personal finances are chaos. I have old collections and scary letters I have ignored for years. If any of this, if you've ever said any of this to yourself, or if you never said any of this to yourself, and you're wondering, okay, how do I make sense of all the pieces of my financial life? That's where a financial plan can really be useful. And that's where how you can actually get a financial plan. It's just a roadmap that helps you reach your goals, right? So if you are able to go ahead and scan the QR code here, and it'll take you to our our intake form, and where you can actually go ahead and apply for a free financial plan. And once your application is reviewed, we will go ahead and start the process. If you meet the qualifications, to connect you to one of our certified financial planners who will work with you for absolutely no cost. I can't stress with you, if you don't know, financial plans can be very, very expensive if you were go to traditional financial services companies. So just keep in mind that this is something that is a resource that is available to you. So we want to thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you all for joining us. Um, if you have not ever considered getting a financial plan, please make sure you take advantage of our financial plan resources. We are here to support you. And if you're thinking about how to manage your tax refund, hopefully you were able to get a little bit of insight as far as how to actually think about all the various parts of your financial life, and specifically how to make sure that you're protecting yourself for the whole year, and not just taking advantage of, not just thinking about what's happening today, but you're thinking about, okay, how can I make the most of this refund for the whole year and beyond? All right, Christina, do you want to say anything before we part?
Thank you everyone for joining. We appreciate it. And please follow us on all the social media platforms at Total Alignment Charitable. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. Hopefully I got them all.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day.